So the first poem I'm reading is Celluloid, and it's helpful to know that this was written in response to Emily Jass's film, Letter to a Friend. Apply to be recorded. Let me tell you what I cannot speak. The dysarthric underlings pulling below, afloat in bardo, sebulous swallowing, spit out azer light, in hopes we see our language carved in the sky. One Tuesday morning, I awoke to the world and discovered no one could see or hear we. This is not a letter to a friend. This is victim application 408, validly declared. Is validity only declared by you, or can I brandish this declaration? I declare this application legitimate, filed under the case first proceeded by Forensic Architecture, Emily Jasser, year 2019, case name Zajal. All preceding images, evidence used in my case are from the initial verbal correspondences between the architecture firm and Jasser. See letter to a friend. The ICC proceedings. You may ask why I did not file an application as a subclause with the already existing preliminary approved chambers. The case doesn't really seem to grasp at what I'm trying to get at. In fact, the case doesn't really seem to grasp at anything at all. Anyhow, before I get ahead of myself. I'm filing victim application 408 on behalf of said victim. According to your definition, I fit this category. The crime against we is one of disappearance. For this, I do not know what I've done. The disappearance follows, pursues me, holds me. When a quantum observer is watching, particles can also behave as waves. Electrons are forced to behave like particles and not like waves whilst under observation. The act of observation affects the experimental findings. Faces recording. What is the distinction between archiving and surveillance? The tear gas canister, the triple chaser, is the most fatal because it breaks itself apart into 3 pieces to cover more grounds and bodies on its impact. The separating canister. According to the Defense Technologies website function, Find a Dealer, I can purchase tear gas from one of their suppliers within 40 miles of the city I used to live in. I can also experience it in the parts of Palestine I'm legally only allowed to access in accordance with the identity card issued to me. Year 1999, West Bank permitted. Jerusalem, 48 historical borders, the Gaza Strip, are non-permitted. See what we carry. The paper, ink, heaviness, tongue, cracked bones are not just a bodily experience, they are policy. The red eyes, stinging, spluttering, inhale if you can. Rip the maps off our necks and carve into our chests what you think is the most revolting thing about us. I don't just want a stamp in my documents, passport, ID card, denying entry, exit, curfew, water, family, friends, home. I want to feel the weight of your hatred on me, so I can measure the strength by which I will need to muster to hit you back. And you will feel it in every way, towering over you, our voices filling the skies, our bodies shaking the streets, our hands on your faces, documents, passports, ID cards, laws, checkpoints, surveillance, towers, guns, ripping everything you have created and making space, making room for the world we deserve to live in. 6 months later, we can be seen as a byproduct of 2 methodologies, wearing evidence relating to home of origin and showing erasure. Evidence sprinkled onto pieces of paper of transparent overhead projector sheets act as material conduits between the disappearing skin and the external world. Images, graphs, charts, statistics, maps, bank statements from the home of origin and or showing the said home of origin's erasure embody the forms of materiality the non-disappear require in order to see the disappearing. Theory tested a total of 54 times with various materials. Transparent overhead projector sheets opted over paper due to weather temperaments, ink from the required materials running down the face body from unexpected rain is not a substitute. The home of origin content is absolutely vital in creating a barrier at which the non-disappeared ing come to their senses in open mouths eyes, if able to acknowledge. See, where are you from? See, what do you think about is happening there? See, methods for catapulting oneself. I walk into the local budgeons, wearing Ghassan Kanafanis, Med in the Sun, head to toe, chapter 1 starting at my head and the story ending at my feet, with no luck of being cited. The consequence is a stolen creme brulee pot. For this, I'm only partially sorry. Recommended usage. Side effects warning. Processes of recognition never started or buffering for centuries. Footnote. Scientists have observed an odd strand of quantum movement taking place in electrons moving among atomic layers of a material. Rather than moving from bottom to top layer, being observed to pass through the middle, the electrons were seen to be disappearing from the bottom layer and reappearing in the top layer a fraction of a second later, with no trace of them existing in between. I cannot tell you what it is like staring at myself in the mirror, with someone standing next to me who can only see themselves. Skin, organs, tissue, veins, body, building. 3 stories, white, gray, green. Story 1, green. Implodes, rooted out of, raised up, torn from. Arms, branches, restricting tears, water shortages. A tree should not connotate shortened breath. Story 2, gray. Thick, dysthematic, toppings, sludging. Thwack, bang, zer, whir, bang, bang. Our eulogies are sonic echoes made by their welcome mats. Please tear out scabrous features. Story 3, white. 10,611 dunhams. Wearing cruelty-free vegan boots, they strap him to a chair. Leather binding the top half of his body, lower half bound to the seat by rope. Turn on the air conditioner, leave, windows, door wide open, a night in December. Where do you go when I give up all of my cards? Checkmate, ace, full house. Do you slam your hands on the table and yell, "It's a bingo"? Or curl into yourself, a snail looking for the shell that once harbored the body, soft, safe, warm, away? Or does it make you want to grab a gun, buy a gun? T-shirts generate bumptious flailing. I walk in the park, hilly fields. I see 2 people walking towards my direction, smiling. I smile back, a southern flaw. To realize their eyes on my chest, staring. Their eyes not really smiles, or their smiles not really smiles, more like boxed mouths, gritting, plastered, emerging when one eats something they find to be too foul, but is too pressed British to spat it out. I look down. I see the outline of a place with a name on it. We are the shit you cannot spit out. You want a diaphanous tongue, blow on the ear, goosebumps on the arm, neck. Obeisance until the touch becomes a graze, until the camera turns back on you, until you are the one who cannot leave the hold. I hope this is enough. I don't care if it isn't. Scarify and drench, indurate. Fakwa iris-covered surveillance towers do not block a sniper's aim. Smiling, awash in exhilaration at the fate of being eaten by us. Sweet, whipped cream, piped teddy bear cake. Arms outstretched towards the Betunia night sky. We only had to pass through 2 checkpoints to be here. I will not tell you the family and friends who risked residencies, jobs, 15,000 shekel fines to cross with us to see the sea. release, memory, muscle, heart. If you cut open the chest, you will see the blockages, cross lines, coronary, green azygos, armistice, partition, seizing, exulting despair. Pay $100, scanning effervesce, hiding away, tucked behind ear, swallow keep tight in throat, solid fetescent grounds. She holds an iPad. When she asks me to select the dates I was in the West Bank, she compliments the henna blooming my hands, dotting fingers, a farewell in flesh. Before I can stop myself, a thank you crumples out of my mouth. A funambulist. Upon passing, I spit my name on the concrete. Interrogated for 8 hours. 20 times they asked, "Why are you here? Why do you want to return?" I'm not exactly sure why this is being sent to you. I suppose it seems the proper thing to do, an application to tell you of my present disappearance, so that it can be recorded, even if I will not be recognized as disappearing or at all. You are institutionally positioned, contractually obligated to read this. But what good does that do? This is not an application to appearance. I do not want to be summoned back into the world where disappearance pervades. This has ceased to be an application. It has become something else entirely. You are the one not able to step away. Even after ceasing your activity of reading this, you will remain here. We know what it is to feel the flame engulfed in the gaze of another. We wear evidence for now. The day will come when we take it off, leaving it on the ground. Some of we are laying these certain images down for something else altogether. What does that mean for you? Where does this leave you? The all-consuming eyes hanging open, mouth slack, dribbling, seething, ravenous. Perhaps you're not hungry at all. Insulin dripping into you is all we are, keeping you in floating bureaucratic linearity. This next and final one was written in response to the Unity Intifada that started in May of this past year. And the title, "My Dear, Don't Be Afraid, It's Nothing, It Will Pass," is what Mona El-Kurd said to her brother while he was being arrested from the Israeli occupation forces after attempting to protect their home from settlers. Incessant tongues pluck the mouth. Cast iron skillets burn. Dousing yourself in milk won't do. Gulping gallons won't take out the flame. Soothe blisters, bubbles, and trachea. Your people are acting like assholes, though, you have to admit. I turn away from the face. It's a party turned diplomatic conference. Everyone is appointed UN General Secretaries. A private imitation of a public put on trial eating veggie hot dogs, inhale and choke on Jenny McCartney. Dispersion is a separation, a distribution. It informs a movement, a scattering from one center to a wide area. The center will not only hold, it grows. Not imitation, that is for the settlers. Parroting, perfecting the art of squawking. Flying nest, the cuckoo who carries machine guns in the street, smashes its cars into pedestrians, drags Palestinians from their homes, bombs white phosphorus onto children's schools, burns olive tree valleys, chains trees buildings. They may stomp their feet on the earth. It spits them back out, regurgitating poison. A colonial masquerading, heroes of the text and failures of thought. The text is meant to imitate something they don't believe was ever in existence. A ghost, a specter, is their blueprint, A to B. We give flesh to the void in their imaginations. We become the unimaginable, walking, running, stomping, fucking, eating, celebrating, writing, breathing. We want to do all on our land. Let's meet in stun. The flash momentarily triggers all cells in the eye that respond to light, blinding it for about 5 seconds. forcing it to see an afterimage that threatens vision. The amount of volume induced by the detonation also creates temporary deafness and unsettles fluid in the ear, bringing about a loss of balance. Parading around, pompous seals, slapping their fins on the rock, dive headfirst into the Dead Sea. Very material, playing house with a guillotine. They were the kids who dismember their Barbies in the name of medical examination. Arrest 500, there's 7 million more, not within your reach. Flatten the strip, there's hands ready to rebuild. If you don't take it, someone else will. If you don't take it, someone else doesn't have to. Newton's first law of motion. An object at rest stays at rest, and an object in motion stays in motion with the same speed and in the same direction unless acted upon by an unbalanced force. Objects keep on doing what they're doing. Objects tend to resist changes in their state of motion, inertia. Structures do not come to a rest, do not come to a stop, unless a force greater than itself makes it stop, makes it crumble, makes it come to a grinding halt. Colonial inertia. Properties of matter, matters of property. If I don't steal it, someone else will. What happens when there's no agreement? For the contract does not want you out of the house, it wants you out of the country. And even when you're outside of the country, everything you embody is backwards, not right, a threat. Tenancy is not just for a house, it is an existence. Why are you still here? It carries me with it wherever I go. It follows. The spectre tenancy requires contract, requires ink, requires paper, requires dates, signatures, constituted clauses, subclauses. Living in a place requires proof that you belong to that place, and the subclauses prove your worthiness to inhabit the space. This is not tenancy. This is inheritance, and you, landlord, settler, state, need to remember whose fucking land you're on, whose house you encroach onto. You will be reminded. Keep your signs claiming, stay out, on the door of a home built by the hands of those you deny real. Your subclauses mean nothing in our courts. We operate on a different set of laws, threaded by a language beyond your reach. Walled off, shut out is where I'd like to see you. Walled off, shut out is where I'd like to put you. In your place, in the dark, with a copy of your contract. I dream incessantly of the old gate. Its faded stone smooth with the jagged bits carved into the walls, soldiers lined up by the hundreds. I walk through the old market filled with its vendors, remembering the time my mother accidentally knocked into a stall. Hundreds of plastic cups clinging onto the ground, slaying out like an overenthusiastic tea time. From the entrance, you turn left into a short, narrow corridor. 50 soldiers are positioned on the right shoulder of the corridor in a ground watchtower. Small shops crammed next to each other, wines right open to the sky, path expands, ceiling removed. 2 stone lanes rolling out from the mouth of the opening. Supporting on the perimeter, khartos selling vegetables and fruits. The path continues down, cobbled, slick, towards a fork. Left side, right side. 50 soldiers stand along the wall, merging the 2 sides, surveying as people walk down. I choose left. Entering a new section of the market. I dream of them. The moment of eyes meeting, recognition awakening pupil. Atini hawitik. Chest tightens, stomach turns inward, eating itself. Not everyone has documents. Some of us have memories. Thank you.